city of global peace. BFM 부산영어방송 is committed to making Busan a city where citizens can comfortably communicate in English and thrive in competition with the world. Together with the Busan Global City Foundation, we are building a global hub city where citizens can be happy.
We are
the firefighter duo.
Winter is so dry. Let's prevent fire by keeping these 3 rules. If you take caution, you can prevent a fire.
The number 1 cause of fire in winter are electric blankets. Take special caution with highly flammable materials such as memory foam, toppers, and bedding.
Number 2, having too many appliances on the power outlet is dangerous. Always unplug all the appliances that you're not currently using.
Number 3, check the heater is off before leaving the house. Leaving it on for an extended period of time can cause a fire.
Let's all take part in preventing fire and have warm and safe winter this year.
Tune into BEFM 부산영어방송 for an emergency broadcast.
This campaign is brought to you by BEFM 부산영어방송. 안녕하세요. 배우 문지은입니다. 우리 사회에는 일을 할 수 있어도 사회에 나아갈 기회조차 얻지 못하는 발달장애인이 있습니다. 그 여정에 함께하는 위드 슬로우 스타터 캠페인을 시작합니다. 더 많은 첫걸음이 시작될 수 있도록 발달장애인의 출발을 응원해주세요. 공익광고 협의회.
The time is now 7 o'clock.
This upcoming end of the year, well, this period is supposed to be the peak season for restaurants when you think about it. However, many businesses, they don't see a reason to really celebrate, and more businesses are actually closing their doors more so than ever. And the businesses that are shutting down include ones that have made it through the Asian financial crisis, or that was in the 90s, and even the COVID pandemic. What is driving these businesses, these restaurants to shut down? It's an important question. And, for their sake, the owner's sake, and ours, we hope to see the end to this tunnel soon. I'm Catherine. This is Morning Wave in Busan on Tuesday, November 26th on BEFM, 부산영어방송. Good morning, Wavers. Welcome to our program. It is raining cats and dogs, as I say. So if you haven't, headed out yet, I would implore you. It's one of those days you probably want to leave a little early because it is raining pretty hard, at least here in Busan. I hope you're all doing well. I think we have lamented over the past few years, everything seems to go up except for wages. That's a common theme. We've talked about this before. And this includes the price of ingredients, which means that, that has led to higher food costs, including at restaurants. And this means that we might be more reluctant to eat out. Then if we look at the flip side, restaurants are seeing some of their worst, if not the worst years ever. So the situation has gotten so bad that 12 out of the 17 metropolitan cities and provinces have recorded the highest closure rates or 폐업률 of restaurants in the first 10 months of this year. That's pretty high, right? And according to the Ministry of the Interior data, Seoul City has recorded over 17,000 restaurants closing their doors last year, followed by over 19,000 this year, with that number expected to grow in the remaining months of the year. And we don't have many months of the year when you think about it. We're in November and towards the end of November. So Gyeonggi province, with its proximity to Seoul, shows similar patterns. Both regions showing closure rates in, anywhere between the 10 to 20%, the mid, teen percents. So both of these regions have recorded their worst years last year. And the situation doesn't seem to be really improving, at least at this time. So if the times are this bad in the capital region, and this is, when you think about the capital region, we talk about the bulk of the population, the jobs, and the wealth concentrated in that area. We can only imagine what things are like for the rest of the country. So that is what we are discussing today for our main theme. And now it's time for text topic. So are you ready? Let's talk about online shipping and waiting. Okay, so it's kind of related to shopping, but we're more talking about the shipping part, the 택배. So do you usually only choose next day or early morning shipping? Or are you more patient? Can you wait a few days? And how long are you willing to wait before you cancel the order? Or maybe you chat up the seller to figure out hey, what's going on? Why am I not getting that shipment? 자, 나는 무조건 새벽 다음 날 배송으로 주문한다. 아니면 기다리기 가능하다. 가능하세요, 요즘에. Everything is so quick, right? Of the moment. So, 취소나 판매자 문의하기 전에 며칠까지 택배 기다려봤다. How long have you waited? What's the maximum? All right, so send in your messages to BFM's live stream live chat on YouTube. So go to the YouTube channel, type in BEFM or 부산영어방송. You'll find our channel, click on it, subscribe, log in, and chat with our other waivers. Also, on your phone, pound 9050, shop 9050. That's going to cost you 101. You can also reach me for free through Kakao Talk. So same thing there. Search for BEFM or 부산영어방송, and you can send in your messages, your photos as well. And if you are listening to us on the radio, that's 90.5 or 103.3 FM. That's if you're in the Busan area. Otherwise, like I said, we are streaming live on YouTube, but you can also watch again at your leisure. Also, 2 apps for you. First, our own app, the BEFM app itself. To download that is absolutely free as well. And we're also available on the Patbang app. Looking ahead to our morning together, what do we have for you? So first up, it is Tuesday, so we have Andrew coming in with Sports Insider, and later on in hour number 2, Bonnie with The Health. Also, for our special interview, today is a special day because we're going to be marking 75 years of strengthening of our partnership, South Korea and the Philippines. We're marking a very important anniversary. So join us as we speak to the ambassador to the Philippines, to the Republic of Korea. So we're going to connect with her later on. That's coming up in hour number 2. And here are today's headlines. It is now 7:06, and these are today's headlines. Jae-myung acquitted of subordination of perjury charges. Seoul Central District Court yesterday acquitted Democratic Party leader Jae-myung on charges of suborning a former mayoral secretary to make false court testimony in his favor. Japan expresses regrets over South Korea's boycott over Sado Mine Memorial. The Japanese Chief Cabinet Secretary Yoshimasa Hayashi expressed regrets over South Korea boycotting a memorial at the old Sado Mine, saying Tokyo communicated with Seoul in a cordial manner. South Korea and Malaysia forged strategic partnership to expand cooperation. President Yoon Suk-yeol and Malaysian Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim agreed yesterday to forge a strategic partnership to deepen bilateral cooperation in the defense industry, trade, energy, supply chains, and other areas. Prosecutor demands 5-year sentence for Jae-myung for 2015 merger. Prosecutors yesterday requested a 5-year prison sentence and a 500 million won fine for Samsung Electronics chairman Lee Jae-myung in an appeal against the acquittal over the controversial 2015 merger of two Samsung affiliates. U.S. prosecutor drops federal criminal cases against Trump. Special counsel Jack Smith, who brought 2 key criminal cases against Donald Trump, has asked judges to drop both after Trump's victory in the 2024 presidential election. And these are today's headlines. It's now time to check in with Haley. She's in the studio with us. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes. So before we get into our Busan updates, let's talk about our text topic. So it's all about shipping, 택배, delivery. Delivery not of food, but delivery of goods, let's say.
I think I have one coming today.
So
yeah, or 2.
So do you always click on the next day or early morning delivery, or are you willing to wait?
Not early morning delivery. It's like my last, action for the earth, which it's very minuscule, but that's like my last holdout.
Yes.
But I mean, if there's next day shipping, I will click on next day shipping. But what trumps everything
Is what?
free shipping.
Oh, free shipping.
I will wait however long I need to wait for free shipping because if I needed it that badly, I would have probably gotten it in person. Probably.
Okay.
But I have had this experience.
Yes.
I bought, it was article of clothing, as it often is, and the seller was in Haeundae, which was like, it was women's clothing. I'm assuming it was a she or they were near here. The store was actually not too far from here.
Right.
But I think just because the company they use, the hub was like, 곤지암. It was like not in Busan. Like it had traveled halfway up the country before coming
back
to my home, which is also in Busan. So I'm like, I could have picked it up after work.
Sure.
Yeah, but I had to wait like 3 days. And, because you can track the package. So you're just seeing it travel up the highway.
Oh, that's another thing. Do you track your package?
Sometimes. But my least favorite thing is 배송 준비 중. They haven't shipped it yet. But I'm like, if it's
They're
like
prepping it.
en route, I can wait if it's like coming across the Pacific, whatever. But I'm like, how long does it take to prep? Like, but like I know people are busy and this is me being unreasonable, but I'm like, how long does it take to prep? Why don't you guys have, stock? I
have a funny story.
Oh, yeah.
Speaking of tracking, okay,
Bring it on.
My sister and I, we were, getting ready for an outing of golf, and we had ordered these skirts, these matching, different color, but skirts.
Right.
And then we kind of ordered at the last minute, and then we're like,
that's the worst.
And then, but we had them shipped respectively to each of our homes. And then mine came the morning of, even though it wasn't like the next morning delivery.
Right.
So I was happy. I tried out the skirt. I sent the photo, whatever.
Yeah.
And then she was waiting until she didn't get her skirt on time. So the
you guys
delivery
live,
came
like in the same city.
Like in the same vicinity, like a 5 minutes of each other. She didn't get hers until hers came at 4 p.m., but we had already left.
Oh.
So anyhow, deliveries. All right, we're going to dive into our first story. For our first Busan story, we're going to talk about the necessary but very kind of unpopular facilities.
Right. So things like industrial waste management centers, 산업폐기장, slaughterhouses, 육축장, cemeteries, 묘지, they cause this NIMBY, not in my backyard kind of mentality in different neighborhoods. So City of Busan, they're trying to get the ordinance revised to allow for the mayor to have the rights to approve some of these less popular and undesired facilities. But apparently there was quite a bit of pushback from some regions, even protests. And actually, City Council recently passed a bill that goes in the opposite direction of the intended purpose. So the bill that passed City Council and will be in effect, it says that facilities that have to do with public transportation and slaughterhouses, they may be within the right of the mayor. So the mayor can designate where they will go.
Okay.
However, including larger facilities like for industrial waste, they would remain under the rights of local counties or districts' heads.
I see. So, and I hear that there is one facility in particular that's kind of, been under question.
Right. So this would be the industrial waste centers, Hanop Paekijang, and the current center in Busan, it's due to reach its limit within just the next couple of years. So it's pertinent that we build a new one, and that includes nailing down the area where they're going to build it. So there are moves to build another one in the Changhanup in Gijang County. However, the residents and the local government, they have been pretty much dead set against it. So reactions are divided to this bill. Fundamentally, the bill praises the districts and counties for being able to hold on to their independence and autonomy in deciding where specific facilities will go. But if you look at a larger picture, others say that this collective kind of NIMBY mentality will continue and it will ultimately hurt the city as a whole. Because, for example, if you don't have a place to put your industrial waste, factories and businesses aren't going to open their doors in Busan because what are they going to do about the waste?
Well, very necessary to talk about this as a lot of questions, I guess, that need to be answered. Hopefully, we will see more on this. But for now, we're going to move on to the fisheries industry because Busan is obviously a port city, famous for kim or dry labor or seaweed. But because of climate change, the seaweed is drying up.
Right, the kim. Your favorite, our favorite, all of our favorite side
kim.
dish. Right.
Yes.
And the famous kim is nakdong kim. And it's sold by the Busan Fisheries Cooperative. Suhyup. So the cooperative said that this year's first public auction for the first batch of seaweed was 17 days later than usual, than last year. So it's customary for that auction to begin in early November, but it took place in mid to late November this year. And the reason, basically the shortened production period. So seaweed needs cooler waters under 22 degrees Celsius, and production is between November and April of the following year, so fall to early spring. However, there's a clear decline in production. So between last November and this April, so last season, not the current season, but the last, the production came to 9,600 ton, and it's the first time ever that seaweed kim production has fallen below the 10,000 ton mark.
Oh, gosh.
And actually, just looking at the figures from 3 years ago, production has been cut by 50%. So half. And that's just 3 years, not 30. That would be concerning to begin with.
Right.
For other reasons, other experts have pointed to the influx of sand that they're bringing in for port and other large development projects. So that raises the ocean floor levels. So that decreases the water volume, which the seaweed, of course, need to grow.
Yes.
So the fisheries industry has asked for the government for full support for this in-demand industry because it's not just popular in South Korea. Korean kim is a popular commodity elsewhere around the world as well.
Indeed. Not great news. So while this is going on, though, the weather continues to grow cold. I mean, we went from it's nice autumnal season, weather, and now it's cold. And Busan City is running a cold wave monitoring system across emergency rooms.
They are. So Busan City is running this ER monitoring for cold wave related ailments from December 1st to the end of February, so the winter season. So this involves hospitals recording their ER patients who show cold wave related symptoms to the National Disease Control Management System. So what we're talking about, these cold wave ailments are directly caused by the weather. It includes hypothermia, which is 저체온증, and frostbite, 동상, amongst others.
Right.
So the thing about these cold wave ailments, they are completely preventable. And those who are vulnerable, including the elderly, children, people who spend a lot of time outdoors because they are either homeless or they work outside.
Yes.
Or those who are under the influence of alcohol or drugs, they really do need to take particular care.
Indeed. So let's be aware of all of this, right? And hopefully we won't need to get additional help. For our final story, though, in conjunction with the INC5 discussions that we've been talking about extensively here, there is this huge eye-watching kind of event over Busan. So what is this?
Oh, we're talking about a literal eye. Like
a literal eye?
Like an eye. Like
Oh.
an eye. And
Okay.
I wish, I tried to give you a visual because we don't have.
We don't have-
By the way, the waggling going on, the
Oh, what's going on?
speculations going on in our chat that I'm just like eyeing right now.
Why? What's going on?
No, our producer's not taking time off to go interview in other companies. They're like,
Is that what they're-
Is she like sneak interviewing? No, she's. Can I say she's getting her physical today? Yeah.
I think we can reveal that much.
Yeah. It's just like, she's not.
She's coming back. Don't worry. Tomorrow. 우리 안 버렸어요.
They're like, is she abandoning us?
No.
Oh
no.
my God.
No,
That's so funny. But yeah, so that's why we don't have the visual. So just imagine my eye, but like 1,000 times larger. So if you go by the Suyang Harbor, the yacht harbor, you will see this gigantic flag of an eye. 30 meters by 24 meters. So it's huge.
Literally
huge, hoisted at about a 10-story height. So this is from Greenpeace, the environment organization, which urges the delegates to come to an agreement over plastic reduction. So it is not a subtle message, people.
So it's like
they're watching
watching
you. And the photos are actually the eye is comprised of multiple thousands, tens of thousands of photos of people that have sent in their pictures, including actor William Shatner, who is behind the cause.
Okay.
So this is comprised by Swiss artist Dan Archer, and the flag is called #WeAreWatching.
Like literally, they're
Literally
watching.
watching. So activists from Greenpeace also, they held a picketing ceremony in front of the event, calling for a strong plastics agreement. And I will definitely try to, because it's an ongoing negotiations.
Okay.
We're not going to have news and headlines and results made, but I will
Okay.
try to get you updates from what's happening as much as possible.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Haley. We'll check in with you real soon.
Thanks.
All right. Back to you, the listeners. 우리 버리지 않았어요, PD님. 걱정하지 마세요. We're not orphans. I don't think we are. Anyhow, your text topic today. It's all about like 택배, online shipping and waiting. Are you willing to wait? Or are you like of the, I need it now. I need it by tomorrow. I need it tomorrow morning at like 6 a.m. So let us know what you're thinking on that. And here is your traffic and weather. All right, just having a laugh looking at your messages, but it's time for your traffic and weather. There is congestion detected on Luno Samsungdaedo from Myeongji Ramp to Shinho Bridge right now. It's also looking slow on Nakdong Namno from Gangsa Police Station to Seongsan Three-Way intersection. Also backed up on the Dongso Overpass from Pumniko Ramp to the Old Kegum Tollgate. As for the weather, it is raining heavily and it's quite windy in Busan with a morning temperature of 14 degrees right now. It's going to go up to 16. Not much difference there. The rain is expected to stop midday. Elsewhere across the country, it is raining in most parts of the country, parts of the capital, and Jeonbuk might even see snow. So this was your traffic and weather.
Are you an early bird? Are you up to date on the news? Are you a trendsetter? For all of the biggest issues from Busan to the world and useful information you need, right here on Morning Wave in Busan.
It is now time for News Digest, and I think I could die laughing reading your messages. You guys are the best. When the producer's away, yes, we play. But we got to get serious because we're talking about some heavy news stories. We're going to begin with the big one. Lee Jae-myung. He has been acquitted of perjury. So this is like the second trial, right? The first
Right.
one we talked about.
Trial number 2 out
Two.
of 5.
Yes. Is it?
Yeah. Yes.
Or
Right. Well,
just
anyways.
second one for now. Yes. So what happened?
So he has been found not guilty of the charges that he ordered his former secretary to lie in court in his favor. So
Okay.
that's lying in court, testifying, giving false testimony in court is what's called perjury, 위증. So Lee Jae-myung wasn't charged for lying in court himself, but asking or ordering his subordinate to lie for him. So that was the point. So the secretary, Kim Jin-sung, however, he was found guilty of perjury and was sentenced to 5 million won in fines. So going a little bit back, the charge said that he requested his secretary to lie in court during his election law violation trial that began in 2019 with the verdict coming out and he was found not guilty in 2020. However, Seoul Central District Court said that when Lee Jae-myung had talked to his secretary on the phone, nothing had been decided at that point when the alleged subordination of perjury took place
Yes.
on whether Kim was even going to testify in court.
Okay.
So there was no evidence of intent, and they saw that as key to the not guilty verdict, nor they saw that the prosecution had presented enough evidence to convict him. So, however, though, I'm going back because there was perjury, and that's been admitted in court.
Yes.
Then could we possibly go back to the 2020 trial where Yi was found not guilty of election law violation because a key witness has now been proven to have lied? That's a no, because the principle of double jeopardy, we cannot go back and charge the same person on the same charges. So
I see.
that not guilty verdict will stand as well. So once again, going back to the bigger picture, though, this does clear up one of 5 charges that he is standing trial for. And this was just 10 days after he was found guilty and was handed down a suspended prison sentence for a separate case involving election law violations. He is appealing that case.
Yes.
And the prosecution is appealing this case. However, if he is found to be guilty and sentenced to anything higher than including a 1 million won in fines to election law, then he cannot run for office for 5 years.
That's right. So, of course, we're going to continue to follow all the court drama. In the meantime, let's move to our next issue. This is a really hot issue right now. We're talking about single parenting, being a single parent, 한 부모 가정. That whole, discussion around that is quite trending right now. But instead of focusing on one particular story, let's kind of widen the scope, though, and talk about children born outside the legal protection of families.
Right. So first, let's talk about children who are born out of wedlock. So
Okay.
that's 혼외자 in Korean. So the number of such children, that figure is growing and has exceeded 10,000 for the first time last year.
Oh, really?
1만 명. And I was like, in Korea? Really? So this makes 1 out of every 20 children born last year born out of wedlock.
Okay.
So according to Statistics Korea's figures, there were 10,900 children born under unmarried parents, and this is the third year of increase. By the way, that rate is 4.7% out of all children born, far, far fewer than the OECD average of, and this was surprising, 41.5% children across the developed world born out of wedlock.
41%.
Yeah.
Well, what attributed to the rise here domestically?
All right, so this is actually really interesting. It's not the conventional out of wedlock situation one might imagine, like
Okay.
single parents or divorced parents. But experts say that this is likely to children born with under parents who are living together and pretty much married in all the conventional sense, except on paper.
Like common law marriage.
Exactly.
They're living
So-
together.
Or
They're
just
cohabitating.
혼인신고를 하지 않은.
Okay,
So
okay.
they just haven't registered their marriages.
Okay.
And there's an interesting correlation between the rise in the number of children who are born out of wedlock and housing.
Housing.
And housing, real estate. So
okay.
집값. So because the income maximum for various low interest loans, they actually favor singles. So that means basically the maximum income for such loans for couples is not double what a single person would make, but it's like 1.7 times what a single person would make. So filing together as a married couple, if you are like mid to higher-ish income earners, that's
Right.
actually disadvantageous for the couple.
I see.
Also, if you're looking to apply for housing subscription, 청약, it's apparently more favorable because, well, if you are singles, you can apply twice. as opposed to as a couple, which is just once.
Got it.
So experts say that a lot of these figures of children born out of wedlock actually come from married couples who are living together but just haven't signed the papers yet.
Yes, so legally not married, right?
Right.
Another issue is babies who are, I guess, registered or under single fathers.
Right. So 미혼부 is the key, specifically single fathers, because being a single father legally means, registering your child under a single father as opposed to a single mother is far, far more difficult. And
Okay.
actually, it was impossible until a couple years ago. So there were problems of single fathers raising their children, but the kids were not in the system, so they couldn't be vaccinated. They didn't get the letters to go to elementary school or kindergarten. So what are you going to do about them?
Yes.
So thankfully, there were laws after multiple protests from single fathers, and actually BFM, we had a documentary about that
Yes.
several years back. So now, thankfully, that law has changed, but apparently it's still a very complicated process.
And what does this process entail, though? Because you would think, mother, father, wouldn't it be the same, but apparently not?
Well, no, because with the mother, and this isn't being sexist, but it's just biology. Well, being a mother, a single mother, you gave birth to the child.
Right,
And the
so
hospital
they match you.
corroborates
Yes.
that. So, but the father, because there are terrible people in the world. We have to recognize that, unfortunately. So what if a guy, because we're talking about single fathers, just
Yes.
took a kid and registered the child as his own? And there are risks of abuse. So
Yes.
what you have to do to prove that that child is yours, number one, a DNA test.
Right.
유전자 검사. By the way, you have to pay for that. Don't know how much they cost, but I'm assuming it's not cheap. And that takes a couple of weeks for the test to come through with the paperwork.
Yes.
And then you have to show the court documented evidence that you have, number one, either you don't know who the mother is or you just cannot get in touch with her. How do you
How do you
so it's always
document?
how do you prove
something that's not
absence?
there.
Exactly. So usually you have to work with a lawyer, hire a lawyer, and pay for a lawyer to come up with the evidence of an absence, which, so there are additional fees there. And of course, once again, we cannot blindly accept these registrations of single fathers. Because you cannot prove parentage with fathers immediately.
Right.
But experts do call for a simplification process because that current process takes about 3 months in total. Right. So the Constitutional Court has ruled this complicated process unconstitutional
Okay.
and have ordered for a revision by May of next year, by the way.
Okay, so hopefully they'll get that in place, the legislators, so that it'll be easier for families of that situation, right?
Right.
Because, families come in all sizes and shapes. So, yeah. Anyhow, and then there are the unregistered children. That's like of major concern.
And it unfortunately still is, despite there having been surveys and investigations.
Sure.
Right now, 2,200 children who are even outside the list of unregistered children. So this follows the death of a baby in Busan at, I believe, 18 months who wasn't even assigned this 임시 신생아 번호, a temporary infant number. So here's what happens. So if a child isn't registered by the parents after birth, they get assigned a temporary management number, 임시
Okay.
관리 번호, for vaccination reasons.
Sure.
The health ministry is currently surveying children who have only the temporary infant numbers, and of 11,000 who fall into this category, 887 have been confirmed to have died. So the government said that it'll launch an investigation over the 2,200 children with only the temporary management numbers within this month. So we'll keep you updated of that.
Okay. Well, that's a lot of information to take in, but so important to go over.
Right.
Well, lastly, let's talk about this issue because it's related to our text topic. Free shipping and returns, which may be one reason why South Korea has so many parcels, right?
So many. So
Yes.
according to the National Logistics Information Center, one person, me, you, in South Korea got about 100 parcel deliveries per year.
Okay, and I'm fiercely doing the math. I'm like,
That's like every 3 to 4 days, which I'm like, Yeah, that tracks. Right.
Yes.
And by the way, the number keeps rising by 20% compared to the year before, by 50% compared to 2 years ago. So obviously, there's a lot of competition amongst 택배 회사, parcel delivery companies. So they're naturally advertising free shipping and also free returns. And home shopping industry, so those like TV advertisements, the TV shopping, e-commerce, they've put up free returns and shipping as basically common policy, and definitely customers are taking advantage of it. So for the top 3 home shopping channels, CJ, GS Retail, and Hyundai, return rates have reached 12%. So 12% of customers are returning what they bought. And expand that to e-commerce, and experts are estimating about up to 30% in returns.
Wow. The question, though, is who is ultimately paying for these returns?
Right now, mostly the platforms themselves, but sometimes the sellers and even delivery drivers, and then ultimately you and me.
Because, I mean, they got to tack it on somewhere.
Usually that's how it ends up being, because the sellers may heighten the price of specific products, or platforms, if it is like a subscription service, they may increase the subscription fee. And then we also, because of what's going on in Busan, have to consider the environmental costs, because they just don't fly over to you. They are driven over to usually, so there's the carbon footprint. Indeed. So experts also call for, looking for a speed of shipping that's only to the necessary amount and reasonable, rather than immediately, I need it early this morning, that I needed it yesterday kind of a mentality.
Then go out and buy it.
Yes.
I know. I'm telling myself.
I know, me too.
Not to other people.
Haley, if you needed it yesterday,
you should have
gone out yesterday.
Exactly, or ordered earlier.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for going over all the news, and of course, we'll check in with you in hour number 2. Thank you, Haley.
See you in a bit.
And with that, we are ready for our first song break. So here it is. And by the way, our producer, who has not, left us just for one day, she picked all the songs. So here we go. This is 내 이름 맑음 by QWER.
어쩌다 고작한 마음도 못 참고 멍청하게 다 던졌는지 들켜버린 것 같아 표정을 보니 말이야 나도 티가 나버린 고백에 얼마나 놀랐는지 몰라 내치는 장난에도 두근댔고 오늘도 몇 번이고 떨렸지만 약속했어 날 안아줘 좀 말아줘 이건 꿈에서만 하기야 무심코 던진 네 말에 하루 종일 설레어 간직했다 아무도 못 보게 일기장에 적어 단단히 잠궜었는데 어쩌다 고작한 마음도 못 참고 멍청하게 다 던졌는지 꾹꾹 참고 또 꾹꾹 숨겨서 이제까지 잘해왔잖아 그러다 고작 울음도 못 참고 괜찮다 말하며 두 눈은 퉁퉁 붓고 커맹맹이가 되어도 난 내일은 맑음 예전처럼 옆에서 밥 먹어도 우연히 눈이 살짝 마주쳐도 걱정 마 날 안아줘 하루 사랑해줘 이건 꿈에서만 하니까 무심코 던진 네 말에 하루 종일 설레어 간직했다 아무도 못 보게 고깃고깃 누가 씹어다 삼켰었는데 어쩌다 고작한 마음도 못 참고 멍청하게 다 던졌는지 꾹꾹 참고 또 꾹꾹 숨겨서 이제까지 잘해왔잖아 그러다 고작 울음도 못 참고 괜찮다 말
right. So that was a lively song for this kind of wet Tuesday morning. Today we're talking about the restaurant industry and how many of them are being driven to close their doors these days. So turning your eyes away from the capital area, the situation in Honam is pretty dire, with almost 25% in Gwangju and almost 20% in Jeonbuk having closed their doors this year. That's significant. That's not just, a few restaurants here or there. And experts say that this region has higher economic sensitivity or vulnerability as it has a weaker industrial foundation than other regions. That's according to the experts. Sejong has also marked its highest restaurant closure rate yet. And this is actually very telling because this is quite a young city, right? With an average age of 37.7 years of age compared to 44.8 years for the entire country. So the low demand shows how far stretched young people may be financially. So just less eating out because the prices of everything have gone up. And we're not blaming the restaurateurs because the price of raw ingredients has gone up. But I'm just saying it's kind of pricey to eat out these days. For now, though, Text topic time. We're talking about online shipping and waiting. Are you willing to wait or do you always click on the next day, next morning delivery? 자, 나는 무조건 새벽 다음날 배송으로 주문한다. 아니면 기다리기 가능하다. So for now, one message. 고수 who says 저는 오래 기다리는 택배는 구매하지 않아요. 3일 이상 걸리는 품목이라면 구매하지 않아요. 오래 걸려서 받았는데 교환 환불이 생기면 지치더라고요. So he says he specifically does not order things that take longer than 3 days, not just because of the waiting, but because he's thinking about the logistics, about getting it, and if he needs to exchange or return it. So it kind of gives him a headache. So I do understand that. Certainly, I do. All right, we're going to get to Kat's pick for now. For today's story, it's pretty short, but kind of terrible. This doctor in Dallas, Texas, who was sentenced to 190 years in jail. Here's a clip from NBC News.
April of this year, a federal jury convicted former Dr. Reynaldo Ortiz on all 10 counts for injecting a nerve-blocking agent and other drugs into IV bags. It happened between May and August of 2022 at Baylor Scott & White Surgicare in North Dallas. That led to several patients having cardiac arrest. A fellow anesthesiologist, Dr. Melanie Casper, died in front of her husband in June of 2022 after taking an IV bag home to rehydrate herself. Ortiz was implicated, but not charged in the death of Dr. Casper. There were also several other cases that didn't make it to court. On Wednesday during sentencing, the federal judge who oversaw the trial said in his view, Dr. Ortiz was responsible for all the cases, including the death of Dr. Casper and the other victims whose cases never made it to court, which is why the judge gave Ortiz the maximum sentence, 2,280 months. In other words, 190 years in prison.
The outcome is he's not getting out of jail, so I think that's very reasonable.
He can't hurt anybody else except himself, and what happens, happens.
He got exactly what he deserved.
So this story really got under my skin because, number one, he's a doctor. And doctors, don't they take an oath to do no harm to people, to patients? Apparently, he was injecting other medication into the IV bags. 그러니까 링거백에 다른 약물을 투입해서 190년 선고를 받은 케이스고 의사잖아요. He's a doctor, for goodness sake. So he had a history of disciplinary actions against him, and he complained that, the hospital was trying to kind of crucify him. And he allegedly did this, according to the reports, to make other doctors look bad. I just can't believe this story. 190 years in prison. Justice served.
Stay tuned. You're listening to Morning Wave in Busan.
Guess who I found here? Andrew's here.
In the hot seat. I still can't get used to this this setup when you're on the ones and twos over there, when you're on the controls.
Exactly. Tell me about it.
Yeah, it's a bit different.
Uh-huh.
I feel like I'm at the well, it is almost Thanksgiving.
Yes.
For Americans out there, but I do feel like I'm at the dinner table. And I feel like I have.
You're going to carve this turkey.
Yeah, well,
because you're sitting at the head.
Mine will be like from National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
Oh no,
won't be much there.
Hey, text topic time.
Sure.
I want to ask you.
Yeah.
How long are you willing to wait for a package, for a parcel, or do you usually your wife do you guys click on like the next day delivery, or are you willing to wait?
Oh, it just depends.
It depends on what it is.
Depends on how much we need it or how bad we need it.
How long are you willing to wait, though? Like 3 days, a week?
Is it for me?
Yeah, it's for you. It's for you.
I don't know. I always click like the fast delivery.
Yes.
Just because it's so cheap in Korea.
Right.
Like, I don't know. If it's coming from the States or whatever, I just click whatever like the normal thing is.
Because you don't want to pay extra.
No, not at all.
Interesting.
Exactly.
All right. Let's dive into some sports. What do you have for us?
Well, we're going to one place to start. I'm sure most of our listeners would understand where I would like to start. And it's with a clip. Let's go to Spurs TV for this one.
He has Kulusevski curling in, Madison arriving, and Spurs lead at the Etihad. Son onto Madison. Madison's in again. Spurs have a second. Solanke and finding Solanke. And Solanke has support and Porro is there. And he crashes in. And Spurs have goal number 3 here at the Etihad. Timo Werner has Johnson coming in. And Johnson is there and Spurs have another.
Then that is 4-0.
Yeah, 4-0. So Manchester City suffered a shocking defeat. I think the headlines are more Manchester City losing than Tottenham winning, which I think is a little bit, I don't know. I think there's going to be a lot of credit here given to Spurs because a 4-0 win is a 4-0 win. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about that.
And it's an away game.
Yeah, and it's ended a 52-game unbeaten streak at the Etihad for Manchester City. I really don't have to go into the highlights because the announcers from Spurs TV from that clip really did it justice for me. But this marks City's 5th consecutive defeat across all competitions.
Yes.
Their worst run under Guardiola. And actually, the last game they lost, 4 in a row, was the worst Guardiola has ever experienced in his career.
Like ever.
Ever.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know. I've had definitely more losses than that in a day. So come on now. All right. So yeah, it's and it's also, here's another, I don't know, record tidbit if you want to get it in there. They are only the second team to beat both Manchester United and Manchester City away by 3 or more goals in the same season since 1992-93.
But then Spurs lost to Leicester and then beats. I mean, is it Ipswich? And I mean, okay. So anyhow, I want to ask you personally though.
Sure.
You were probably really excited when City lost because it's not for Spurs because you support Liverpool.
Exactly, and also that it was the late game. It started at 2:30 in the morning here in Korea.
I didn't even watch it.
Not a chance. It was like 12:30, and I was like,
no,
that's not happening. Although I wish I would have stayed up and watched it because it would have. But Spurs probably would have lost if I would have stayed up. So then when I woke up and I saw the score, Liverpool plays Sunday night, and I'm like, So obviously the City lost. Now to the Liverpool win, Mohamed Salah scored twice to lead Liverpool to a thrilling 3-2 comeback victory over Southampton away at St. Mary's, which honestly, Southampton are down the bottom of the table, but it's just a very Liverpool thing to do to lose to them with their only loss coming this season against Nottingham Forest. Sorry about that. But Forest are actually playing very well.
They're playing well this season.
On the other hand, not so much. But it was back and forth, but it was a penalty in the 83rd minute of a handball that led to Salah getting his second goal and Liverpool not looking back. And now are 8 points clear at the top of the table. So pretty happy about that.
Congrats
Thank
to
you. Yeah.
Liverpool,
Exactly.
aka Andrew's team. Let's move away from soccer. What do you have for us?
Yeah, something we don't talk about too often, but we're going to go into Formula One here. Max
F1.
Verstappen scored. I'm just on Mo Salah here. His fourth consecutive Formula One World Drivers' Championship at the Las Vegas Grand Prix, which I had some friends who were in Vegas on the weekend who weren't there for the race. And were like, they just makes everything a mess here. And I was like, what are you talking about? There's so much fanfare, so much stuff going on. They're like, yeah, but we're not here for that. And it makes getting around the city terrible. I was like,
crowded.
Bunch of Debbie Downers out there.
Yes.
All right, finishing fifth, while rival Lando Norris placed sixth. The victory makes Verstappen one of only 6 drivers in history to win at least 4 titles, which is, it's Red Bull's dominance. We're kind of fading. Verstappen managed to maintain enough points despite winning only one of the last 12 races. So it's kind of interesting because he must have had such, a lead going into it to be able to have, to fall off the pace. No pun intended there, but it is for sure.
Yes.
So, yeah. I don't know. Congrats to him.
Absolutely. And then we have another person, we know his name, Conor McGregor. He's in the news, but not for sports.
Not for sports. Unfortunately, it was something outside of the octagon or outside of the ring, depending on what he's doing these days. A Dublin civil court, and I do have to highlight this, it is a civil court, all right?
Civil case, yes.
Yeah, civil case awarded nearly 250,000 euros to a woman who accused Conor McGregor of rape. The jury found McGregor liable for assaulting Nikita Hand in a hotel back in December of 2018.
Yes.
Hand claimed the attack left her severely bruised and with PTSD. Now McGregor he claims he is innocent in this. Unfortunately for him, the jury thought different.
Yes.
Hand expressed her gratitude to her supporters, emphasizing the importance of speaking up for justice. Leaving the courthouse, McGregor and his partner both looked visibly shaken. But it said the case highlighted that lower burden of proof in civil trials compared to criminal proceedings is needed. So I'm not saying neither here nor there on one side or the other, but
it is different, civil versus criminal.
A lot of people are wondering how this is the case. How isn't he in jail? Why isn't it? Well, it's very different, in a civil case. Exactly.
And lastly, to the world of hockey.
Lastly, I think I'd be doing some disservice if I didn't talk about Alexander Ovechkin of the Washington Capitals, who was on a tear at 39 years old, looking to, surpass the great one, Wayne Gretzky, as the all-time goal scorer in the NHL. He's only 27 goals away. So he started out the season, he was in the 40s, and people were thinking, oh, there's no way. Maybe early next season, he's 39, he'll hang on until he beats it. Well, he was flying, leading the league in goals this season. But unfortunately, he's been sidelined for 4 to 6 weeks. And I want to say it might even be a little bit longer. He fractured his left fibula at the lower part of his leg, one of the bones in the lower part of his leg, during a game against the Utah Hockey Club. Now, the thing here is he's 39 years old. Kat, both of us aren't any spring chickens.
We're not 20 anymore.
When we suffer an injury, even though we know we don't have we have the Korean medical system behind us, so it usually gets us back in there quite quickly.
My butt injury went on for 11 months.
Yeah. There you go. So my shoulder, I have a bum shoulder, and that's still kicking on. So
my wrist from, overusage from golf, still going.
Yeah. I love that, this turns from sports into all of our ailments.
아파요.
Yeah, exactly.
여기저기 아파요.
Exactly.
Yes.
So it'll be interesting to see how it looks when it comes back. Now, his coach, Spencer Carberry, said, it's unbelievable. Or sorry, his teammate, Tom Wilson, said it's unbelievable that he's actually hurt. He never gets hurt. He plays all the time. He has missed less than, I think it's 60 games in his whole career of being injured. So this is one of the longest stints of his career being out of the lineup. So it'll be interesting to see how long it is before he's actually back in. But I don't think they're going to rush it. All right? As I was going to say, because he's a Russian, he's going to rush it.
No.
But anyway. But I will have to say, this is the last time our listeners will see my Mo.
Your Mo.
It'll be gone by next Tuesday when I'm here.
So enjoy Anders Mo. And then Leslie says, new segment, aches and pains. I like that.
I think the thing is,
we would have a lot to say.
Leslie, the thing is, I don't think we would know when to stop.
I know, because we could go on and on and
Every
on
day
and
is
on.
something different.
Right. And so we're going to call it a wrap. But thank you for coming in and sharing other sports. Oh, by the way, speaking of the Spurs, there was like breaking news this morning that after that 4-0 win,
Yes.
Vicario, the goalkeeper,
Yeah.
he just underwent surgery for a broken fracture in his ankle, which
Fraser
is really
Foster
bad.
will come in. He'll do a good job. Don't worry about
But
it.
still,
Yeah.
it's not Vicario. So anyhow, on that note, we sadly say goodbye.
It's all right. I'm happy.
Bye, Andrew.
Bye-bye.
And for our final song for hour number 1, our producer left us with a good one because I guess she wanted to leave you in happy spirits for hour number 1. I Want It That Way by the Backstreet Boys. Enjoy. I'll be back at 8.
My fire, the one desire, believe when I say I want it that way. But we are 2 worlds apart, can't reach to your heart when you say that I want it that way. Tell me why ain't nothing but a heartache. Tell me why ain't nothing but a mistake. Tell me why I never wanna hear you say I want it that way. Am I your fire, your one desire? Yes, I know it's too late, but I want it that way. Tell me why ain't nothing but a heartache. Tell me why ain't nothing but a mistake. Tell me why I never wanna hear you say I want it that way. Now I can see that we've fallen apart from the way that it used to be. Yeah, no matter the distance, I want you to know that deep down inside of me, you are my fire, the one desire. You are. Don't wanna hear you say nothing. Ain't nothing but a mistake. I never wanna hear you say I want it that way. Tell me why ain't nothing but a heartache. Tell me why ain't nothing but a mistake. Tell me why I never wanna hear you say.
Your Bridge to the World. BEFM 부산 영어방송.
부산의 축제 어디까지 즐겨보셨나요? 과거와 현재, 미래가 공존하는 항구도시 부산. 이곳 부산은 계절을 물들이는 다양한 축제로 늘 풍성합니다. 봄의 시작을 알리는 봄꽃 축제부터 부산의 여름을 만끽하는 바다 축제, 전 세계 영화인들이 모이는 부산국제영화제와 새로운 시작의 해맞이 축제까지. 부산의 축제는 우리의 열정을 가득 담고 있습니다. 바쁜 일상은 잠시 뒤로 하고 특별한 시간을 선물 받는 바로 이곳 부산에서 우리의 삶은 축제가 됩니다. 축제로 하나 되는 부산. 여러분은 어떤 축제를 기다리시나요? 이 캠페인은 대선공익재단과 BFM 부산영어방송이 함께합니다.
혹시 지금 운전 중이신가요? 어린이 교통사고 피해자 수는 지난 3년 평균 약 9만 명. 특히 어린이 보호구역 안전기준이 강화된 이후에도 어린이 보호구역 내 사고는 지속적으로 발생하고 있습니다. 스쿨존에서는 반드시 시속 30km 이하 서행, 스쿨존 내 불법 주정차 금지, 차량 출발 전 앞뒤 좌우 살피는 습관으로 어린이가 안전한 도시를 만듭니다. 참, 운전 중 휴대전화 사용은 모두에게 위험합니다. 우리 모두를 위한 교통안전, 나부터 실천하면 모두가 안전해집니다. 어린이가 안전하게 뛰어놀 수 있는 부산. 아이 키우기 좋은 도시는 우리 모두의 미래이자 희망입니다. 이 캠페인은 어린이가 안전한 부산을 만드는 은행, B&K 부산은행과 함께합니다.
We are
The firefighter duo.
Winter is so dry. Let's prevent fire by keeping these 3 rules. If you take caution, you can prevent a fire.
The number one cause of fire in winter are electric blankets. Take special caution with highly flammable materials such as memory foam, toppers, and bedding.
Number 2, having too many appliances on the power outlet is dangerous. Always unplug all the appliances that you're not currently using.
Number 3, check the heater is off before leaving the house. Leaving it on for an extended period of time can cause a fire.
Let's all take part in preventing fire and have warm and safe winter this year.
Tune into BEFM 부산영어방송 for an emergency broadcast.
This campaign is brought to you by BEFM 부산영어방송.
지역 경제가 힘차게 출발합니다. 기업들이 고객을 향해 더 빨리 가려면 방송 광고라는 X를 밟으세요. 경제도 기업도 더 힘차게 달려가니까요. 방송 광고의 작은 힘, 경제의 큰 힘입니다. 부산 방송광고발전협의회.
The time is now 8 o'clock.
Good morning, Dynamic Busan.
Yeah, you're waking up. Time to shake it up. Tell the world good morning and find out what's going on.
Well, hi there, folks. There's everything from comedy to lively chat to music.
Broadcasting from a room about the size of your closet.
All calls are recorded. What show is this?
Live from Korea's dynamic city, this is Morning Wave in Busan. I'm sorry, who'd you say you were?
Wavers, it's now time for news highlights. It's 8 o'clock. Lee Jae-myung acquitted of subordination of perjury charges. Seoul Central District Court yesterday acquitted Democratic Party leader Lee Jae-myung of charges of suborning a former mayoral secretary to make false court testimony in his favor, easing his legal challenges ahead of an anticipated presidential run in 2027. The trial centered on charges that Lee, as a candidate for Gyeonggi governor, lied during a TV debate in 2018 about his conviction in the early 2000s, which was for impersonating a prosecutor. Prosecutors accused Lee of pressuring his secretary to support his statement at the debate. Lee thanked the court for restoring truth and justice. The prosecution said that they will appeal the case. Japan expresses a regret over South Korea boycott over Sado Mine Memorial. Japanese Chief Cabinet Secretary Yoshimasa Hayashi expressed regrets over South Korea boycotting a memorial at the old Sado Mine, saying Tokyo communicated with Seoul in a cordial manner. Hayashi said that the decision to send Parliamentary Vice Minister Akiki Ikuina to the ceremony despite her history of visiting the Yasukuni Shrine was made only based on her role at the ministry and that there were no issues with the decision. The South Korean government held its own ceremony yesterday in Japan to honor the Korean forced labor victims, attended by 4 ministry officials and 9 members of the families of the victims. South Korea and Malaysia forged strategic partnership to expand cooperation. President Yoon Suk-yeol and Malaysian Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim agreed yesterday to forge a strategic partnership to deepen bilateral cooperation in the defense industry, trade, energy, supply chains, and other areas. In a joint declaration after the official summit, the leaders pledged to broaden the scope of collaboration as the two countries mark the 65th anniversary of their diplomatic ties. And on the sidelines of the summit, both governments signed memoranda of understanding to facilitate collaboration in areas including critical mineral supply chains, carbon capture and storage technologies, plus tourism. Prosecutor demands 5-year sentence for Jae-myung for 2015 merger. Prosecutors yesterday requested a 5-year prison sentence and a 500 million won fine for Samsung Electronics chairman Jae-myung in an appeal against the acquittal over the controversial 2015 merger of 2 Samsung affiliates. He was indicted in September 2020 on charges of stock price rigging, breach of duty and accounting fraud in the course of the controversial 2015 merger of the 2 Samsung affiliates, Jae Industries and Samsung C&T Corporation, to tighten his control of Samsung. In February, the Seoul Central District Court acquitted Lee of all charges, but the prosecution stressed that an acquittal would pave the way for illegal and expedient mergers by dominant shareholders. U.S. prosecutor drops federal criminal cases against Trump. Special counsel Jack Smith, who brought 2 key criminal cases against Donald Trump, has asked the judges to drop both after his victory in the 2024 presidential election. Smith said the cases should be closed because the Justice Department bans the prosecution of a sitting president. The charges include Trump's alleged attempt to overturn the 2020 election results and improperly storing classified documents. In a statement, Trump's team said the move to end the cases was a major victory for the rule of law. And this was News Highlights. Haley back in the studio for issue Waggle Waggle.
Good morning again.
Yes, that's right. So we're going to get into our first story. So this is the fallout from the Dongdeok Women's University protests as they continue, right?
Right. So first of all, the school has sat down with the student association and discussed the damages done to the school during the protest. So to give you a bit of background, the student union and the general student body, they held protests for days on end against the school discussing the possibility of going co-ed, 남녀 공학.
Yes.
The school has previously estimated the damages inflicted onto the campus from direct acts of vandalism, including spray painting. They've had to reschedule or relocate some of the college admissions essay exams and fallouts from that. Total amount to 5.4 billion won, which is a massive amount.
Right.
So the school said, however, they're not currently at a point of launching a full-out investigation to point out the suspects, rather. However, the president of the university said that they are discussing all options, including pressing criminal charges or civil suits.
I see. So that's the latest on the status of that situation. And now, a board director at a public institution is under fire for comments about the students at the school.
Right. So we're talking about the chairman, Jae-myung, who heads the board at the Human Resources Development Service of Korea, or 한국산업인력공단.
Okay.
So on social media, and this was his personal page, by the way, but it was still public, he wrote, commenting on the D University, but it was D Women's University, but it was kind of obvious.
Which one, yes.
Even if, quote, we have a blind hiring system whereby you can't see the university, test scores, or really any identifiable information of the applicant, I want to filter out applicants from this university. 이 대학 나온 사람들은, and he said, 거르고 싶다. Literally filter out. And then he also said he's so thankful that the wife and girlfriend of his two sons are, quote, good people from co-ed universities.
So what does that mean?
Well, what do you think that means?
That means that female students that go to
women's universities
are not good people?
Right. So it wasn't even, okay, number one, it's problematic for him to point that university because the students had a reason, whether you agree with it or whether people agree with it or not, to launch that protest.
And it wasn't all the students.
Methods,
right.
It wasn't all students. Some of the methods may have been, problematic, but, that's to be figured out. Yeah, so it kind of casts this blind prejudice against all women's university students.
What else did he say?
Interesting. Well, he deleted a post upon controversy, and he apologized, saying that he regrets the inappropriate wording, and also he didn't really understand where the students were coming from. So yeah.
Moral of the story: be careful of what you post.
Right.
Yes. All right. Next, let's talk about a local story of someone who went above and beyond trying to evade DUI charges. Oh, goodness.
Right. So we're talking about drunk driving, 음주운전. A Vietnamese national in his 30s was driving in an alley right here at Gwangbok-dong in Chunggu district in Busan early morning on November 6th. And this story is just coming to light now. Apparently, he ran into a metal divider on the road. A couple hours later, the police come, they go to the scene. They notice signs of alcohol. By the way, this was a couple of hours later, so he was still reeking, seemingly. So they took the driver, ushered him to the patrol car so they could administer a breathalyzer.
Sure.
Well, he ran. He booked it. Just ran off, refused to order, obviously. And then jumped into the ocean.
The ocean, like
the ocean, 바다. By the department store in Gwangbok-dong. It's by the coast. Yeah. So he swam, he swam some 200 meters to nearby Yeongdo because it's right there.
Right.
Got out, caught a cab.
The taxi driver let him in?
Apparently dripping wet, and went home.
Oh, my goodness. I mean, that is like evading with capital letters, right?
Absolutely.
So how did the police find him?
Well, because he ran, but he left his car.
True.
I mean, but I guess, getting into the car and driving would have been even more drunk driving. So that had his identifiable information. The police found information that hinted at the man being undocumented. So they tracked him down, and by noon the same day, they had caught him. He was under police custody. So yes, they confirmed he was undocumented, passed the case on to the Customs and Immigration Office, and he has since then been deported.
Drunk driving, whoever you are.
Exactly.
No,
right.
Don't do it.
Also, just
terrible.
That's so dangerous.
Right.
If you're that drunk where you're still reeking of alcohol.
2 hours later, yeah.
And obviously not in the right state of mind, jumping into the ocean,
That's
that
really
could have
dangerous.
been disastrous.
Yes,
right?
yes. All right, and our last two stories, I guess not happy ones, they're about vices or smoking and drinking.
Smoking and drinking. So there's this huge scandal in Laos, in this very tourist-heavy village.
Yes.
I've been wanting to go here, Van Vieng Valley. After 6 tourists died last week following now what's being suspected of methanol poisoning.
Yes.
So the dead include 2 British nationals, 1 Australian, 1 American, and 2 Danish citizens. So this area, Van Vieng, is really famous for kind of not just bar hopping, but like in river bar hopping. So there are these valleys and rivers where people float on inner tubes, and there are a lot of like hotels and bars that offer cheap alcohol. So it's a very popular spot for backpackers.
Sure.
And there was a mystery because people just kept not to be insensitive, but they kept dying and kept getting sick. And there are at least about a dozen others who are hospitalized right now. So it was a mystery, but as the story has been unfurling, it seems more and more likely that this was the result of methanol poisoning. Methanol. Possibly from free drinks offered at hotels and bars. So local authorities say that there are clinical signs that point to methanol poisoning. Bit of a difference. What we drink, well, others drink in alcohol is ethanol based.
Right, not methanol.
But not methanol, which has a different chemical compound.
Okay.
So here's the thing though. Bootleg liquor,
like illegally made
liquor is common in some parts of Southeast Asia, and they're made from ingredients like rice and sugarcane. Sometimes people will mix in methanol
instead of the ethanol.
Yeah,
because it's cheaper, right?
It's way cheaper, right? Also, way more toxic.
Dangerous, yeah.
So ethanol, I mean, doctors have different opinions and studies about safety of consuming alcohol. We're not talking about that, but we're talking about the immediate toxicity, the poisonous level.
Right.
It can be safely consumed in small amounts, but methanol is immediately toxic. 30 millimeters, which is like a mouthful, is deadly. But unfortunately, Asia has the highest figures of methanol poisoning around the world. Incidents noted in Indonesia, India, Cambodia, Vietnam, the Philippines, and now Laos. By the way, here's the thing. You cannot distinguish the difference between methanol and ethanol by color, smell, or taste.
Right.
I mean, until a person gets violently ill.
Oh, goodness.
So travelers, especially in Southeast Asia, they have been warned about being very careful what you consume, especially if it's free or suspiciously cheap.
There's usually a reason. Yes. All right. Now we're going to turn to smoking because that was one vice, and here's other.
Another one. All right. Not just smoking, but vaping or e-cigarettes, 전자담배. Because, multiple studies, once again, they have shown that e-cigarettes are just as harmful as regular cigarettes. However, here's something new I learned. Under the relevant laws in South Korea, including the Public Health Promotion Act, 국민건강증진법, and the Tobacco Business Act, 담배사업법, e-cigarettes, not technically cigarettes legally, because they define cigarettes as the term tobacco means that manufactured in a state suitable for smoking, chewing, or smelling by using the leaves of the tobacco plant. 담배는 연초의 잎을 주 원료로 하여 피우거나 씹거나 혹은 냄새 맡기에 적합한 상태로 제조한 것이다. So when we flip that, vaping, which is made of synthetic nicotine and are used as a liquid vapor inhalants, do not qualify as cigarettes.
Under the strictest reading of the law.
Under the legal terms. So in practical terms, so this is why vapes can be sold online. Also, at least under these 2 acts, you can, and by the way, I'm going to get to the other part, but you can, at least under the 2 acts, sell them to minors because they're not cigarettes. Right, but before you go off selling them to minors and blaming me for it, under the Juvenile Protection Act, 청소년 보호법, that's why another law had to be kicked in to protect kids and teens.
Yes.
Article 28, these are designated as harmful materials where you do have to check the ID and age of the buyer. So, of course, you cannot sell them, but it's not because they're cigarettes. It's their other harmful material.
Yes.
Also, for the same reasons, you don't have to affix attach on those really gruesome and graphic warning labels and photos.
But I hear there are moves to change this.
Right, because of this lower barrier to entry for vaping, because the vape shops, I mean, they just aesthetically look cool.
Yes,
they are
they
made
do.
to look that way. They kind of work as gateway cigarettes. So according to the Disease Control Agency's survey, teen vaping usage went up from 2.7% in 2018 to 3.1% in 2013. Excuse me, more importantly, 60% of teens who began using vaping have now graduated to cigarettes.
Wow.
Yeah, so
definitely a gateway.
The parliament is looking into including e-cigarettes and vaping as those being required to have warning labels and photos.
I see. Well, thank you so much for going over all the news. Oh, no happy news today.
Sorry.
Maybe tomorrow.
That's the world. Fingers crossed.
All right, Haley, we'll check in with you tomorrow. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
And with that, it is now time for your traffic updated and weather. It is now time for your updated traffic report. There is an accident on the Dongso overpass going out of the city. Right on Hwangyong ramp, there is a two-car collision. It's causing a lot of backup right now, so please be careful. There's also congestion on Gwangan Bridge on the top portion going towards the Daeyeon overpass. It's also slow on Gwanmun-daero from Pangang Tunnel to Baegang Tunnel. And lastly, it's backed up on Yeonsuro from Silli three-way intersection to the Mangmi-goge. As for the weather, it is still raining pretty heavily, at least in some parts of Busan, and is quite windy. Morning low right now is 14. It's going to go up to 16. It's expected to stop raining and maybe midday. Across the nation, raining in most parts of the capital, and Jeonbuk might even see snow. And this was your traffic and weather. And this is Sam Smith. I'm not the only one.
A vow for better or for worse. I can't believe you let me down, but the proof's in the way it hurts. For months on end I've had my doubts, denying every tear. I wish this would be over now, but I know that I still need you here. You say I'm crazy, 'cause you don't think I know what you've done. But when you call me baby, I know I'm not the only one. You've been so unfadable. Now sadly I know why. Your heart is unobtainable, even though God knows you kept mine. You say I'm crazy, 'cause you don't think I know what you've done. But when you call me baby, I know I'm not the only one. I have loved you for many years,
listeners, it's now time for our special interview. So today, we are going to be speaking with a very special person because this year actually marks the 75th anniversary of diplomatic relations between the Republic of Korea, South Korea, and the Philippines. This is such a significant milestone for both nations. And last month, the two countries elevated our ties to a strategic partnership, paving the way for closer cooperation in the future. So we're talking about, economics, culturally, even sports exchanges between the two nations. They are expected to grow even further. So let's learn more about the developments of the South Korea-Philippines relations and what lies ahead. So joining us right now, we have invited the ambassador herself, ambassador of the Philippines to the Republic of Republic of Korea. Her name is Maria Teresa Dizon de Vega. So let's welcome the ambassador. Hi, welcome so much to our program. Welcome to our program.
안녕하세요, mabuhay, and hello to all the listeners of Busan FM English Broadcasting.
Oh, thank you so much for the nice greetings. We do appreciate you being on air with us. And it's such an important milestone that our two countries are marking right now. But first, how long have you been here in South Korea? Because we want to know all about you. And what's your experience been like living here thus far?
Well, I will be marking 3.5 years in Korea. Next month, actually. And it's been a very, very exciting, also a very hectic time for me. But I feel very privileged to be working as a diplomat in Korea during this period of just wonderful and very exciting growth in terms of Korea's role in the world, in terms of the economic development, the innovations that Korea has been able to share with the world. And of course, the continuing rise, I think the never-ending rise in terms of popularity of Korean content and all other industries allied with it, from K-food, K-beauty, K-culture, K-pop, of course, Korean films and drama and fashion. It's a very exciting time for Korea.
Indeed.
Privileged to be here and to be representing my country here, and also feel very honored to be on your program for the second time, I believe, already.
Yes, indeed. And so it's by the way, the honor is all ours, of course, Ambassador. But, this year, like I said in the intro, such an important milestone, 75 years, the 75th anniversary of diplomatic ties between South Korea and the Philippines. So could you share with us the various kind of areas where you think the two countries have collaborated and exchanged resources so well over the years? Kind of do a hindsight, a retrospective.
Well, of course, the 75 years of our relations, at the very heart of it is really our shared sacrifices during the Korean War. The Philippines is one of the sending states to the international campaign to help South Korea defend democracy on the peninsula. We sent about 7,420 fighting troops, and that has really cemented our relations, and that has been the basis of all the cooperation and engagement which followed from the early years when Korea was the country was undergoing reconstruction. The Philippines was there to assist.
Right.
In infrastructure development. And now Korea is helping the Philippines face a number of present-day challenges in terms of development cooperation, too. For example, in climate mitigation and adaptation projects in different parts of the Philippines, combating maritime pollution, for example, and oceans pollution. Mm-hmm. We work together very closely in the United Nations in moving towards on non-proliferation issues. So We are also partners in ASEAN because Korea is one of our dialogue partners in ASEAN and actually reached a milestone this year, also the 35th year of ASEAN-Korea dialogue relations. And we now have a comprehensive strategic partnership, which I think really goes very well and is in sync with the strategic partnership that the Philippines and Korea have also reached just months when Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol undertook a state visit to the Philippines in early October. So there are so many milestones in terms of tourism, in terms of people-to-people exchanges and cultural exchanges. We have a new free trade agreement, and we have over 60 agreements between us in various areas, from defense, where Korea is actually one of the main suppliers and providers and sources for the modernization of our armed forces. And I'm in Busan currently, and this is yet another city where our cooperation is very evident. We have a thriving community here. We have a Philippine Studies program at the Busan University of Foreign Studies.
Right.
Really, there's so much out there, but there's so much more that we hope to do and plan to do.
Oh, yes. And first and foremost, of course, Korea will have the ultimate amount of respect and gratitude because the Philippines was one of the nations that sent soldiers over to fight, sacrificing their lives during the Korean War. And also, I want to touch upon what you just talked about, Your Excellency, about the free trade agreement between South Korea and the Philippines because, yes, the Philippine Senate, from what I understand, just approved the FTA. And once the FTA goes into full effect, what economic, changes or opportunities do you kind of foresee in this budding relationship, this growing relationship?
Well, I have great news and updates on the FTA. One is that you're correct. The Philippines ratified the free trade agreement last September, and we also received very positive news a few weeks ago because the National Assembly of Korea also ratified on the Korean side just a few weeks ago. So now the stage is set. The requirements are already in place for the full implementation of the agreement. The target is within the year. Everything will be in place, and our respective trade and industry ministries are working on this. The most immediate effects will be felt in key industries of both countries. In terms of the Philippines, it will basically be a very positive outlook and outcome for our tropical fruits and vegetable producers because tariff lines will be reduced. And I'm sorry, for our Korean friends, for our Korean counterparts, the FTA provides a very good entry point, a more competitive entry point now for the automotive industry. So meaning that the automobile industry, which is one of the most important industries here in Korea, will get a boost in terms of competitiveness in terms of the Philippine market because I've been telling our Korean friends the Philippines is both a destination for more investments and for more production for the automotive industry of Korea, including the electric vehicle industry and all the related industries from the EV battery industries and so forth and all other elements of this industry. But it's also a market. We have a growing population. There are, as of the last census, 114 million Filipinos who are becoming more and more environmentally conscious and are moving towards leading more sustainable lifestyles. So there's a market out there. And the FTA also opens up engagement in new areas of economic and trade and technological engagement, the green industry, green technologies, green transport, public health, vaccine development, the creative industries, or what we also call the knowledge industries, are included there. And also very important for both our countries, critical raw materials, critical minerals production. And
Indeed.
I just want to quickly share that one of the side programs, if you will, to the FTA implementation is that the Philippines and Korea embarked earlier this year, even before the ratification and in anticipation of the implementation, on an origin management system, which will help digitalize certificates of origins for goods coming from Korea, goods coming from the Philippines. And this will hopefully speed up and make the process of exportation and importation more transparent. And this is also with the participation of the private sector.
Yes. And that's really important, having that transparency as we enjoy both sides products from the Philippines and the Philippines products from Korea as well. So thank you for thoroughly explaining what we can expect in the near future. And I also want to touch upon this, though, Ms. Ambassador. On the 29th, I hear that the 2024 Busan ASEAN eSports Global Exchange, well, it's going to be held here, and that a team from the Philippines will also be participating. So I'm kind of curious about the dynamics of the esports industry in the Philippines. Is it a growing industry?
Yes, esports is certainly a growing industry. It's not as highly developed yet as in some countries, but the potential is there. Certain interest and the skills are there. Right now, recent studies show that there are about 40. There's a very active gaming community. Philippine teams overall rank 18th in the world. That may have gone up a bit. I'm not too sure. 18 in the world in terms of esports rankings, in terms of earnings from different competitions. So, the usual competitions in the esports universe, if you will. So It's a very time for the Philippines, but also because there are at least 43 million active gamers in the Philippines out of 114 or so million population, and this has been steadily increasing. There's been an increase of about 11 to 13% year on year since 2017. So it's the growth of the esports industry in the Philippines is also supported by the growing accessibility of mobile phones, smartphones, mobile internet's very important, and there are I think we average now about 2.65 million active users on a daily basis. Might even be higher now because these are figures from about a year ago. Yes. So very, very popular. And I'm not sure if people know this, but I'd like to share this with you.
Yes.
The esports potential is seen as very strong in the Philippines, to the extent that one of the oldest universities in the Philippines, the Lyceum of the Philippines, actually has a 4-year course. They developed a 4-year curricula, Bachelor of Science in esports industry.
I see. That's very telling.
So, if there are any foreign students out there, international students who are really into esports and want to know more about it and want to approach it also academically, we do have a 4-year program. It's a degree in the esports industry in the Philippines.
Indeed. And, I want to give you an opportunity, Ms. Ambassador, about why... in terms of Koreans and people in Korea, one of the biggest things about the allure of the Philippines, among the many things, is obviously tourism. Because if you look at the numbers, very, very high going to the Philippines. So I want to give you an opportunity to kind of brag about the Philippines. What should we know about your beautiful, lovely country?
Well, some things that I'd love to share with other people about Filipino people is, of course, we have beautiful places. We have so many islands, and each is unique in its own way in terms of the local color, the local culture, the local cuisine, and of course the beautiful sights. But I think what makes the experience of visiting the Philippines are primarily the people. We're very hospitable. We're very welcoming. We're very friendly. We have how shall I put it? A very positive outlook on life, no matter how difficult the challenges are.
Sure.
I always say we specialize in resilience and a can-do attitude, and that we will get through this together, and that there's so many wonderful things in life to enjoy. And for our Korean friends, I think they feel this very deeply because of the strong and long-standing historic bonds. And we share a lot of the same values, close family ties, a love for food and cooking.
Yes.
A love for music. And I think this is apparent in the level of comfort that Koreans and other international visitors have in our country. Of course, right now we continue to promote our cultural heritage, where we're a wonderful crossroads of different cultures. And we've gone through a history of colonization from different parts of the world.
Right.
And so that's also reflected. And being a roads, we have influences from all over Asia and also Western influences. That's reflected in our cuisine, in our culture, in our music, in our dances. And of course, the natural beauty of the Philippines. We're home to several UNESCO heritage sites, from sites like colonial cities and churches, to natural wonders like the underground river in Palawan, and our natural sanctuaries are also, and of course the rice terraces in the northern part of the country. These are all wonderful places to visit. And of course, for water sports, you name it, golf, diving.
We could go on and on, unfortunately.
But for Koreans, it's also the closest country in Southeast Asia in terms of actual travel.
True. Very true indeed.
And we have the infrastructure now to support that, with daily flights direct to many of the most popular destinations in the Philippines, from various ports and airports here in Korea, including here in Busan.
Indeed. So as
you're our number one visitor, actually.
Yes.
Is the number one source of international visitors to the Philippines, and we'd like to keep it that way. It gives me bragging rights. It gives our embassy bragging rights. But truly, we're very, very grateful that Koreans keep coming back to the Philippines to rediscover the country in many ways.
And so as we wrap up our discussion for today, I wish we had 2 more hours with you, Ambassador. What are your hopes and expectations for the future development of the two sides, of South Korea and the Philippines, as we wrap up right now?
Our big dream, and also our goal and our vision, is for Philippines-Korea relations to be even more forward-looking, partners in innovation, and also partners not only in terms of our bilateral relations, but also in jointly responding to the many challenges, and also taking hold and harnessing the many opportunities that our generation and future generations will be facing.
Well, definitely that's what we're hoping for as well. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule as we mark this important milestone. Thank you so much for joining us today, Your Excellency. We do appreciate it.
Thank you, and see you at the E-Games, the Busan ASEAN Esports Global Exchange. I'll be back. I'm here in Busan. I'm going to leave for a few days, but I'm going to be back on Friday for that.
All right. We look forward to that. Thank you so much. Once again, everybody, this was our interview marking the 75 years of strengthening ties between South Korea and the Philippines. And of course, we had the pleasure of hearing from Ambassador Maria Teresa Dizon de Vega. And we're going to take a short song break after this special interview. So here it is. This is To Be With You by Mr. Big.
Hold on, little girl. Show me what he's done to you. Stand up, little girl. A broken heart can't be that bad when it's through. It's through. Fate would twist of both of you. So come on, baby, come on over. Let me be the one to show you. I'm the one who wants to be with you. Deep inside, I hope you feel it too. Feel it too. Waited on a line of waited on a line just to be the next to be with you. Build up your confidence so you can be on top for once. Wake up, who cares about little boys that talk too much? I've seen it all go down. Your game of love was all written down. So come on, baby, come on over. Let me be the one to hold you. I'm the one. Be with you. Yeah. Deep inside, I hope you feel it too. Feel it too. Waited on a line up. Waited on a line. Yeah, just to be the next to be with you. Why be alone when we can be together, baby? You can make my life worthwhile. I can make you start to smile. When it's through, it's through. Fate would twist of both of you. So come on, baby, come on over. Let me be the one to show you. I'm the one who wants to be with you. I'm the one. Deep inside, I hope you'll feel it too. Feel it too. Waiting on a line of waiting on the line. Yeah, just to be the next to be with you. I'm the one who wants to be with you. Deep inside, I hope you'll feel it too. You'll feel it too. Waited on a line.
It's time to check in with Bonnie for the health. Do you like the comments?
Good morning. Yeah, this is
Isn't it fun
fun
watching all the comments come up? What are
as
they
long
saying?
As
What
they're
are they
good, as long
saying?
as they're positive.
What are they saying? Time to
Cults
join.
can be positive, I guess.
No, they mean it in the most positive way ever. They
Thank you,
love your
guys. Thank
segment.
you.
Yes, so we're going to dive into a very important segment today, right?
Yes, because we're talking about my favorite subject, if you know me. Plastics.
Here we go. No, this is important.
Yes, and if you've been listening, we've been covering it on the radio all week. So many of you know that it's a very important week here in Busan. And it is, in case you don't know, or if you just tuning in, the INC 5 is here in Busan. We are hosting the 5th session of the Intergovernmental Negotiating Committee to develop an international legally binding pact on plastic pollution.
That's right.
This is big. Countries 175 different countries are coming together trying to work on a solution for the world, for the planet, for our health, on how we can deal with this plastic crisis. And I say crisis not lightly. We are reaching a point where it's a very big, severe problem. Like I said, not on just the planet, but our own health.
Yes.
And the studies that keep coming out are alarming. And part of this whole campaign was actually a showing of a documentary called Plastic People, The Hidden Crisis of Microplastics, which I went to go see this weekend. And you know, if you know me, I'm pretty well versed in a lot of plastic pollution, health. I was even alarmed and surprised at some of the information that was given during this
Even for
documentary.
you, someone who knows all this.
Yeah. So I wanted to, of course, share it with you guys, share it with the waivers, because if you missed it, then I want to give you this information, but also I want to encourage everybody to go watch this documentary yourselves. It was very eye-opening, and I think you will find it really interesting.
Sure.
But key point, of course, plastics are everywhere. We do know this. At this point, it's kind of unavoidable. It's in the food that we eat. It's in the beverages that we consume. It's in the air that we breathe. So there's no really going back from this. We can't just say we're going to end all plastics and there will be no plastics in our body.
True.
Plastics are in me. They're in you. We're sitting here right now and they're in our systems.
Right.
But the surprising thing is we are finding that they can penetrate into deep parts of our tissue, our own tissue, but then also into fetuses as well. And the University of New Mexico conducted a study on human placenta. So out of 62 placental tissue samples, how many do you think had some bits of microplastic or nanoplastic in them?
Oh no, the fact that you're bringing it up?
Just a wild guess.
Oh, I hope it's not all, but is it?
Yes.
Unfortunately,
every single one of them. Some traces of microplastics were found. And the most common plastic was polyethylene, which is the plastic that is used to make plastic bottles and plastic bags, which are some of the most common sources that we see. Another study tested 17 human arteries, and guess what? Same results. Microplastics found in every single one of them.
Yes.
So this suggests that maybe these plastics also are linked to the clogging of arteries. And microplastics have recently been found in human blood and even breast milk. So there's not really anywhere that they haven't found their way into.
Yes.
And the dangerous thing is, what are plastics made out of? They're made from oil, not a substance that you want in your body.
Sure.
But also, the wonderful world of plastic, we can make it durable, we can make it flexible, we can make it colorful, we can make it clear.
Yes.
But to make it into those things, we have to add in a bunch of different chemicals. And those chemicals are toxic, they're poisonous, they are not things that we want to be consuming. Professor Matthew Campen, who led the research on the placenta, said the growing concentration of microplastic in human tissue could explain the puzzling increase in certain health problems, such as inflammatory bowel disease, IBD, colon cancer in people under 50, and a declining sperm count. In 2021, a study found that people who had IBD had 50% more microplastics in their feces than healthy people.
Wow.
Yes. So studies have shown us that microplastics are linked to disrupting the endocrine system, the immune system, and they mess with your body's natural hormone production. So if you think about your whole body, your system, your nerves are sending signals to your brain, which are sending signals to the rest of your body on how to control or produce hormones.
Right.
These microplastics are kind of going in, and if you can think of them as kind of like little shields, blocking these receptors, blocking these messages. So that's what's causing a lot of disruption in our system.
Right.
And what's more than that, it's also affecting our ability to learn and our memory. So we're seeing it's not just our hormones, but actually our way of thinking, our brains, how our brains are working. So one of the most alarming parts of this documentary was actually a portion where they took a part of a brain that had a quite large tumor in it.
Yes.
And extracting that tumor, and then they did studies on that brain tissue that they took out. And alarming, they did find some traces of chemicals from microplastics in the brain. And the researcher even found this quite surprising and very concerning, because if microplastics can make their way to our brain matter, there's nowhere that it can't go, but also there's no way for us to kind of go into the brain and just remove all these plastics.
Sure.
So, when we eat bad food for ourselves, like processed food, sugars, we know they're not good for us, but you can kind of reverse the symptoms. You can, eat really healthy, drink a lot of water.
Offset it, right?
Yes, breathing techniques. But the thing with microplastics, when they lodge into your tissues, into your organs, into your brain, there's really nothing that we can do to extract that plastic forever. So if we are consuming more plastic at a younger age, that just means we're accumulating this plastic more and more as we get older.
So it's basically like irreparable harm, like we can't reverse it.
Yes. Yes. And some of the chemicals that leach out of the plastic, I don't want to say it's like all doomed. Some of the chemicals that leach out of the plastic, yes, can be removed from our body.
Yes.
And some of these microplastics do come out we do excrete some of it, but if it's coming into our body, it's leaching that chemical into our body. So it's not completely safe in that way.
Yes, yes.
So another study done by Professor Campen researched 12 brain samples of people who had died with dementia or Alzheimer's. These brains had 10 times more plastic by weight than healthy samples.
By weight?
Yes. So your brain is a control center for your whole body, right? If we have toxic chemicals leaching into our brain, that is not great for the development of our brain, especially in young children, growing brains. And then also when we get older, right? You want to be still pretty vibrant when you're older. You want to be able to think. You want to be able to
be healthy.
Yeah, with your family, with your friends. So microplastics might be something that has a detrimental effect on that. And I want to say we talk about plastic bottles, plastic bags. These are all expected.
Yes.
We know microplastics come from this.
But what about the unexpected, things that we don't really think about?
So things I was even surprised about, canned foods. Actually, the lining of canned foods. You think canned foods are metal, but they actually have to be lined with a substance so that they don't leach that metal taste into your food.
Sure.
So that's
the
really
coating,
high.
right?
Sea salt.
Sea salt.
Because if you think about, there's so much microplastic in the ocean. If we are getting salt from the ocean, those nanoplastic, microplastics are going into that salt.
True.
So you want to avoid sea salt altogether. From our clothing.
So
this is one of the highest ways that we get microplastics into our body is clothing. So when you wash it, all the microplastics go into the waterways, and then from the rivers, from the natural water sources, those come into our bodies, or we breathe it in also.
That's so doom and gloom, Bonnie.
I'm so sorry, you guys. I know this is not one of these positive
but it still needs to be talked about. And people are asking about your shirt.
Very important. Yeah, this is my Save the Mermaids shirt. I have to wear it. I will
heal the ocean.
Because we do have power to change some of this. Some of the things we cannot change. Like microplastics from paint and from actually car tires is one of the highest ways we ingest it through the air. But through packaged foods, through avoiding, like I said, canned foods, to buying clothing actually not new, but reusing clothing, that actually reduces the amount of microplastics that we ingest. So we have a lot of power to change it. And, people are here for the INC5 to do this, to actually put policy in place so that we can reduce the amount of plastic that goes into our environment. But we ourselves as consumers also have power. So to reduce the plastic that goes into your body, look around your house, look around your room right now and see what is made out of plastic and see what you can reduce, especially in the food or drinks that you're consuming. The packaging that you are buying, reduce that plastic. And I will cover next week. This has to be a part 2, you guys, because I had more stuff.
Okay.
But
we'll cover more next week.
We'll cover more next week.
To be continued.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much, Bonnie, for your passion and the information. We'll check in with you next week.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
All right, Wavers. Well, it is time to say goodbye, but I do want to remind you that I know it's raining today, but to remind you that we need to prevent wildfires during this late fall, early winter, things about like burning rice paddies and agricultural residue and trash. That's all strictly prohibited. Smoking and discarding cigarette butts in or near forests. That's so bad, but that's also banned. Additionally, carrying lighters, burners, or any flammable materials into mountainous areas, that is not allowed. Violations can result in fines of up to 1 million won. Negligence leading to a wildfire may incur up to 3 years in prison or fines of up to 30 million won. And I don't want to end on a Debbie Downer note, but still needed to get that information out to you. So I wish you a very safe Tuesday. And here is 보통 날 by G.O.D. Enjoy. Have a good one, everybody. Bye-bye.
아침이면 일어나 창을 열고 상쾌한 공기에 나갈 준비를 하고 한 손엔 뜨거운 커피 한 잔을 든 채 만원 버스에 내 몸을 싣고 귀에 꽂은 익숙한 라디오에선 사람들의 세상 사는 즐거운 사연 들으면서 하루가 또 시작되죠. 화사하게 빛나는 햇살이 반겨주네요. 똑똑한
봐줘 나 그대를 잊고 살아요 미안해요 나 벌써 괜찮은가 봐요 잊지 못할 사랑이라 생각했었는데 잊혀져 가네요 어느새
부산영어방송
부산의 축제 어디까지 즐겨보셨나요? 과거와 현재, 미래가 공존하는 항구도시 부산. 이곳 부산은 계절을 물들이는 다양한 축제로 늘 풍성합니다. 봄의 시작을 알리는 봄꽃 축제부터 부산의 여름을 만끽하는 바다 축제, 전 세계 영화인들이 모이는 부산국제영화제와 새로운 시작의 해맞이 축제까지. 부산의 축제는 우리의 열정을 가득 담고 있습니다. 바쁜 일상은 잠시 뒤로 하고 특별한 시간을 선물 받는 바로 이곳 부산에서 우리의 삶은 축제가 됩니다. 축제로 하나 되는 부산, 여러분은 어떤 축제를 기다리시나요? 이 캠페인은 대선공익재단과 BFM 부산영어방송이 함께합니다.
The weather is so nice today. I'm sure this won't be a big deal.